Hi guys, it's Alex from theStyleJungle here and welcome back to Moscow. We're continuing our series of videos about Moscow, Russia, and today I want to show you one of my favorite places. This place is called VDNKh and it's basically a huge expo, one of the biggest expos in the world. This is a permanent site, but what's the coolest thing about it is it was built in traditional Soviet architecture. So it's very interesting and I want to show you around this place. So we're now near the main entrance. This huge arch was built here in 50s when the second and actually the final stage of building process of this expo was finished. And the entrance today is free, but it wasn't like that in Soviet times. That's why you can see here behind my back are the remains of the ticket offices. It actually can be translated into exhibition of achievements of national economy. We'll just call it, let's say, Expo Park or VDNKh Park because it's easier. The whole idea of building this thing at the end of 30s was to highlight the achievements of different republics of Soviet Union or different industrial areas as well. So they decided to build this whole park with a big selection of different pavilions. Now it's expanded into something really big. It's one of the biggest parks in Europe and probably in the world as well. I prefer calling it like a park of Soviet period because everything here reminds of that traditional Soviet architecture and Soviet lifestyle. They even have the speakers everywhere, so you can hear some Soviet music. You can buy some traditional food over here, some street food as well, and actually just walk around. There is an educational side about this park as well, so all those pavilions, some of them still have those exhibitions, some of them were repurposed into department stores or cafes. It's interesting how this park develops, and actually 2019 marks the 80th birthday of this park. It was built in 1939, so it's a big date now for VDNKh, and it's basically amazing to see how this park gets this new kind of life. A lot of pavilions are being renovated, and it's a lot of people here, especially in a nice sunny day like today. It's quite a lot of people just walking around. Everything is nicely organized over here, so you basically enter into the main alley where all the beautiful pavilions are located. This is the main street, so all the cafes and street food is here as well. A lot of Fontaines here, and right to the entrance you can find the info center. So if you're looking for more information about this park, you want to get a map or just ask where to go, there is a lot of information there, or you can download an app for your phone or go to their website just to check the map. There is an interactive map over there as well. So I use this map on my phone. It's nice and easy. It shows where the toilets are, where the cafes are, what are the pavilions. Just download that app because it's a lifesaver over here, because the park is huge, and if you want to see everything in one day you probably need some guidance. Definitely one of the most impressive pavilions here at VDNKh is this central pavilion, or the main pavilion, or the pavilion number one. Doesn't matter how you call it, but this is definitely one of the most beautiful, and it is the highest. It's 90 meters tall, and it has all the symbols of 16 Soviet republics that were parts of Soviet Union in 1954. The main Fontaine was just opened about 2 months ago. It was undergoing the big renovation as well, so it looks shiny as now. Again, 16 different figures of women representing 16 different republics of Soviet Union. Every sculpture is absolutely unique. They have different faces, obviously different outfits. It's one of the most beautiful fontaines ever, and there are 3 main fontaines on this main alley, which is called here like Central Avenue or something like that in Russian sources. Shows the perspective that goes from the main entrance through this central pavilion, these 3 fontaines, ends up at the very end of this park. There are 2 different approaches, 2 themes of pavilions. So first one was to show what's really special about the targeted Republic of Soviet Union. So let's say if we were talking about Uzbekistan, so what people do in Uzbekistan, what this republic was famous for, what they produced, and as visitor you would probably want to buy some stuff from Uzbekistan or learn more about the culture of that Soviet Union republic, and it's the same for all the republics. The other approach was to highlight the special achievements in certain industrial areas. So let's say if they were growing flowers, they had those flower gardens. If they were doing farming, there was a farm over there, so you would probably just come and see how this traditional farm looked like. That's why it's so interesting to actually be here, because it's very diverse. It's a lot of things going on here. Not everything works properly now, because in 90s the place was a little bit abandoned, so actually a lot of pavilions were in really bad condition. So now they're trying to rebuild or renovate or repurpose some of those buildings, and it's getting much better, and I'm pretty sure in a couple of years time it will be absolutely beautiful. It will look like it were meant to look like, and probably it will be even better. I'm really excited that Moscow government takes care about such parks and preserves what they have here. Space Pavilion, or in Russian Cosmos Pavilion, which is the biggest and probably the most interesting pavilion now here at VDNKh. It was renovated from inside and outside. It looks absolutely stunning, and it has an amazing, probably the biggest collection of airspace and just space themed things like astronaut costumes, spaceships. It's all very interesting what you can see inside that pavilion.
So here we have the daily schedule of astronauts, and they wake up at 6 a.m. Then they have morning shower at 10 past 6. They have breakfast, they do sports for how long? For an hour and a half. They do sports every morning. Then they work on their space station, and at 12 p.m. they have experiments. There are lots of celebrations and feasts going on Earth, so astronauts, they have to film congratulations and send them to Earth. So at 2 p.m. they have a special slot for congratulations. Then they experiment again. They work. They do work a lot. Oh, they have another sports slot at 6 p.m. and then they clean their space station. It takes them around half an hour, and they even have a free time, which looks like they're playing PlayStation. I'm not sure if this emoji is like what they really do, but they're playing PlayStation here. And then they have dinner, which looks like McDonald's. They have to make a call to Earth to make sure they are fine, and then they go to sleep at 9:30, quite early. You can put your hand in here and feel what it really feels like to be in space. It's so weird. It's just huge, and I feel like my hand is stretching. It's so hard to move it. I wonder if the trees here are located accurately where they are in the station.
They are exactly the same place. What we have here is two, not pavilions, but still very interesting buildings. To my right is the cafe called Moscow Sky, and to my left is the grocery store. And I'm just approaching a place like a courthouse where you can register your marriage. So it's actually a very interesting place to do this, because this is a historical park. So it's definitely some memories you will remember for the whole life. So this is the Golden Spike Fontaine, and I mentioned there are three main fontaines, three big fontaines. They're making kind of a line from the main entrance to the back side of the park. All three fontaines were renovated, so they look as new now, and it's actually nice and calm over here. It's not that busy as in the front part of the park. So if you are looking for some kind of tranquility to relax, this is the place to go. So there's quite a lot of water here, and the pond that I'm actually walking alongside now is dedicated to fishing. So this is Pavilion that was dedicated to fishing and maybe some fish industry as well. So it was built in 1985. And it seems like now they're doing completely different stuff, because to be honest, the design of that pavilion was a little bit off. So they, I guess, trying to give it more modern feeling. So we'll see how it will look like after the renovation. Now it's kind of half done, or thirds just done. So it's hard to judge. It's so great to walk here when it's shady, because today is a very hot day here in Moscow, and I guess my face is sunburned already, but I had some sunscreen on, of course, and I was applying it again and again, but still it's really hot. So it's nice. It's a lot of water. Of course you can't swim here, but it's still nice to walk here actually. this is the arc that was the main entrance when this expo was built in 1939, but then the territory expanded and this arc was named the northern entrance, but it's not an entrance anymore because it's kind of in the middle of the park, so it's just a nice monument of the architecture. And it's absolutely beautiful. The pavilion behind my back doesn't have any kind of name, so as others are dedicated to countries of former Soviet Union or to industrial areas, this one is a new one. I mean, arguably a new one. It was built when the renovation process just started, and the monument at the very top, it's called Рабочий and Kolkhoznica, or if you translate it into English, it's worker and farmer. When they started to renovate the park and they decided to, of course, update the sculpture because it was made quite long ago, they decided to relocate the monument because it was located near the main entrance. So they decided to build the pavilion, put this sculpture at the very top so it can be easily seen from almost any point here at the park. The sculpture at the top was built specifically for World Expo in 1937 in Paris, and it was designed here in Moscow and it was assembled here, and then it was reassembled, sent to Paris, and there it was made for the pavilion of Soviet Union. Then after the expo was finished, they decided to put it here at the VDNKh. It was actually a very good idea because people liked this sculpture so much that they decided to actually make it like a cultural symbol. It's used by the movie production studio called Mosfilm, that was the main movie studio in Soviet Union, so it was like a logo. Just ask anyone in Russia about what they know about this park and they will definitely mention this big sculpture. So this is more than just a pavilion, this is really like a pop symbol of Soviet Union. This is another really interesting pavilion. It's called Moscow Pavilion, but it was actually named originally Montreal Pavilion because it was made for Montreal, Canada Expo in '67. It was a huge hit at that expo, so Soviet people decided that they want to relocate it back here to Moscow and put it here at VDNKh, so they reassembled it here in Moscow in '75. It's not on the main alley there at the expo, so it's a little bit on the side, but it's a huge building and it actually looks really cool. I guess it's one of the best looking newer pavilions that were not built originally for the expo in 30s or 50s. And this is the rocket launcher called Topol. You might probably seen it if you were watching all those military parades at the Victory Day here in Moscow. And I'm not sure why it's here. You can't actually go inside or go get super close to it. But it is here if you want to take a look. One of the most recent additions to VDNKh landscape is this pavilion of model of Moscow, which is basically model of Moscow city center with light bulbs, and it's made in size 1 to 400. It's still basically quite big, and once in an hour you can see the light show over there, so it looks really fantastic. And they have quite a lot of cameras installed, so you have those panels, like digital panels, where you can see all the landmarks of Moscow with small descriptions. And they're expanding, so they are going to build a bigger model, so they will include more areas of Moscow. So probably they will move out of this building or maybe build a bigger one. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it will look like. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this walk around this big expo in Moscow called VDNKh, or how I call it, the park of Soviet period. If you like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of videos to come. If you want to check out some other videos about Russia and what to see here in Moscow or St. Petersburg, just make sure to click on the pop-up banner in the corner of the screen. We'll see you guys very soon. Bye bye!